Hello guys, welcome back to another Android Fragments tutorial. In the previous episode we already learned about how to add a fragment directly into the XML file of an activity. So if you add the fragment directly into the XML file, it is not possible to replace that fragment at a runtime. So if you want to replace your fragment at a runtime, you need to add your fragment programmatically or dynamically. So the fragment manager class will provide all the needed methods to add or remove a fragment at a runtime. So here I am going to create an Android application that will demonstrate how to add or replace a fragment at a runtime. So we are going to create this application. This is a simple activity that contains two fragments. So this is the first fragment. The login form is the first fragment. So if the activity is started for the first time, I already start the first fragment. And if the user click the new user label, I replace the first fragment with another one. This is the registration form. So this activity contains two fragments. First one is the login fragment and the second one is the registration fragment. So now we are going to create this application. Okay, first we have to make some changes on the activity main.xml file. So open up the activity main.xml file. Change this one into linear layout. Provide an orientation for this layout. Android orientation into vertical. Now provide some background color for this layout. So Android background, specify some HTML color code. Okay, now add a title for this activity. So add a text view with the match parent, height into wrap content. Provide some text, Android text. Fragment demo, Android text appearance into text appearance large. Specify a pure black color for this text. Android text color into black color. Also align this at the center. So Android gravity into center. Okay. Now we have to add a container for the fragment. So if you add the fragment, if you want to add or replace a fragment at a runtime, you have to provide a container for that fragment on the layout file. So here I am going to provide a container for the fragment. It is a relative layout. So add a new relative layout, specify the width as match parent, provide a height of 300 dp. Now provide some ID for this layout, Android ID equal to plus ID. I name it as fragment container. Now go to the design. Now we have a relative layout on this layout. Now provide some margin at the top. So Android margin, layout margin, Android margin top into 30 dp. Okay, now we have to add another text view. So if it is a new user, we have to add another text view for display the registration form. Width is match parent, height is wrap content, text fragment demo. Change that one into new user. and change this one into text appearance medium. Also change this font color into another one. Gravity into center. Provide some margin at the top and draw it margin top into 20 dp. Also we need an ID for this text view, so Android ID plus ID reg user. Okay, now we have the two text view and the container for the fragment. Okay, now we have to create the two fragments. The first fragment is the login fragment and second fragment is the registration fragment. So here I am going to add a layout for the first fragment. So right click the layout file, layout folder, and create a new layout resource file. And I name it as login fragment layout. Click OK. Okay, now go to the XML file. Now here I am going to make the design. Okay, now here I complete the design of the login fragment. Here is the design that contains two text view, two edit text and a login button. So I add an edit text, two edit text and a login button. Okay, now we have to create a class for this fragment. So right click the package name and create a new Java class. I name it as login fragment and click OK. Extends this class using fragment. Override the onCreateView method. Okay, and here we have to return, we have to inflate the layout. So inflator dot inflate, provide the layout file r.layout dot a login fragment layout, provide the view group container, one more argument is there, false. Okay, now we have to create our second fragment, that is the registration fragment. So first here I am going to create the layout for the registration fragment. So create a new Android layout resource file. I name it as register fragment layout and click OK. Now here I am going to make the design for this registration fragment. Okay, now I finished the design of the registration fragment. This contains 3 edit text and a button. Okay, now we have to create a Java class for the second fragment. So right click the package and create a new Java class. I name it as register fragment. Click OK. Extends fragment. Create the onCreateView method. Now inflate the fragment. Inflator dot inflate, specify the layout, register fragment layout, container, and false. Okay, now we add two fragments into this application. Now whenever the activity is started for the first time, we have to display the login form, that means the login fragment. So go to the main activity.java file, there is no need of the options menu. Remove the code for the options menu. So whenever the activity is started, we have to add the first fragment. So for add a fragment into this layout, first we need the object of fragment manager class. Fragment manager equal to get fragment manager. Okay, need an object fragment manager equal to get fragment manager. Now we need an object of fragment transaction. I name it as fragment transaction equal to fragment manager dot begin transaction. So now we have to add the fragment into the activity main.xml file. We already add a container for our fragment. It is the relative layout with id fragment container. Okay, so fragment transaction and use the method called add. So before going to add the fragment, we have to create an object of the first fragment. So the class of the first fragment is the login fragment. So first we have to create an object of login fragment. So login fragment equal to new login fragment. Okay, so for the add method you have to provide two arguments. First one is the container for the fragment and second one is the object of the fragment class. So first we have to specify the container r.id.fragment container. Now specify the object login fragment. Okay, and finally we have to commit this transaction. So fragment transaction dot commit. So this will add the first fragment when the activity is started. So now we have to create an object of text view. So text view, I name it as text view. Go to the activity main.xml file. This is the registration layout, registration label with id reg user. Okay, we have to initialize that particular text view. So text view equal to find view by id r.id.reg user. Typecast this one into text view. Okay, now we have to create an on-click listener for the text view. So text view dot set on-click listener, new view dot on-click listener. Okay, here we have to replace the first fragment with the second fragment, that means the registration fragment. So here also we need the object of fragment manager and fragment transaction. Okay, so here instead of add method we have to call the replace method. So fragment transaction dot replace. First specify the container r.id. fragment container. Sorry, here also we need to create the object of the second fragment, that is the register fragment. Register fragment equal to new register fragment and pass the object into the replace method, register fragment. And finally commit the transaction. So fragment transaction dot commit. This will replace the first fragment with the second fragment. Now we finish the coding. Now we are going to run the application. Okay, now we have the application available on the virtual device, Fragment demo. So this is the activity that contains the first fragment, the login fragment. So now I select the new user label. Now you can see now the first fragment is replaced by the second fragment, that means the registration fragment. So this is how we replace a fragment at a runtime using the Fragment Manager class. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.